People think a mother's heart breaks the day her child dies. But mine broke on the night my son chose to live without me. I am an old woman now. My hair is white, my back is bent, and my hands tremble when I hold a cup of tea. But my memory is sharp. Pain sharpens memory. Tonight, as I sit here and speak, I am not asking for sympathy. I am only telling you a story. My story. My son's name is Ariv. He was not born cruel. No child is. When he was small, he used to sleep holding the edge of my sari. Even in dreams, he needed to know I was there. If I moved away, he would cry without opening his eyes. His father died when Ariv was 12. One morning, my husband left for work. By evening, men carried him back on a wooden stretcher. From that day, the house became quiet in a way only widows understand. Not peaceful, heavy. I stitched clothes late into the night. I cooked for neighbors. I skipped meals so he could eat twice. I told myself one thing every day. As long as my son grows up well, everything is worth it. Years passed. Ariv grew taller, smarter, restless. The village felt too small for him. The city called him with promises I could not understand. When he got a job in the city, I smiled until my cheeks hurt. I gave sweets to neighbors. I thanked God with tears in my eyes. I didn't know that was the beginning of losing him. In the beginning, he called every day. Ma, did you eat? Ma, are you taking your medicine? Ma, I miss your food. I would wait all day just to hear his voice at night. Then the calls became fewer. Once a week, then once every 2 weeks. When I called him, sometimes the phone rang and rang. Sometimes he answered with irritation already in his voice. Ma, I'm busy. Ma, don't call during office hours. Ma, you worry too much. Worry too much. A mother worries like breathing. You don't stop. You die. 2 years passed before he came home. I cleaned the house for 3 days, cooked his favorite food, wore a clean sari. I imagined him hugging me. Instead, he walked in like a stranger. He didn't touch my feet, didn't ask how I was. He complained. The house was too old. The village smelled. The neighbors stared. Then he said something that still burns my ears. Ma, you embarrass me in front of my wife. Your way of talking, people laugh. I didn't understand how love could suddenly feel like shame. That night, he shouted. He said I was controlling, that I called too much, that I didn't understand his life. And then he said the sentence that broke something inside me forever. Just stay quiet. You are ruining my life. The next morning, he left. No goodbye, no promise to return. After that silence, days passed, then months, then years. Festivals came and went. I cooked less. I spoke less. I laughed never. Neighbors stopped asking about him. Relatives stopped visiting. Sometimes I would dial his number and hang up before it connected. Sometimes I would hold the phone and cry without calling. At night, I left the front door unlocked. Not because I expected thieves, because I was afraid of closing the door on hope. Old age is lonely, but old age with an absent child is a different kind of loneliness. It is being alive without being needed. One winter I fell sick. High fever. No one to sit beside me. I remember thinking, if I die today, how long before my son finds out? That thought hurt more than the illness. Years passed like this. Then one night, the power went out. The house was dark. The wind was loud. And suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Not a gentle knock. Not a polite one. A desperate knock. My heart started beating fast. No one comes this late at night. I stood up slowly. My legs shook. I walked toward the door, and for the first time in many years, I was afraid to open it. Some knocks don't bring visitors. They bring answers, and I wasn't sure I was ready for mine. The knock came again, louder this time. My heart pounded, so hard I could hear it in my ears. For a moment, I wondered if it was only the wind or my imagination. But then the knock came again. I placed my hand on the door. Old wood, familiar scratches. I had touched this door thousands of times, but that night it felt heavier than ever. I opened it, and there he was, my son, Ariv. For a second, I did not recognize him. He looked older, thinner. His shoulders were bent, not straight like before. The confidence he once carried like armor was gone. His clothes were expensive, but wrinkled. His eyes were red, swollen, tired. We stood there in silence. No greeting, no hug, just two people staring at years of pain. Finally, he spoke. "Ma, can I come in?" That question cut deep. This house had never needed permission for him. I stepped aside. He entered slowly, like someone afraid the ground might disappear beneath his feet. He didn't sit on the chair. He sat on the floor. That scared me. Strong men don't sit on floors unless something inside them has broken. I went to the kitchen and made tea. The same tea I had made for him countless times before. I placed it in front of him. He didn't touch it. His hands were shaking. Minutes passed. Then he laughed. A hollow sound. "Ma, I lost everything." He told me his business failed, that his friends disappeared when money did, that his wife left without looking back. "The city eats people like me," he said. I listened. I said nothing, because mothers learn early. Sometimes silence is louder than words. He stayed the night. I gave him his old room, the same room where he once studied by candlelight, the same walls that hurt his childhood dreams. That night, I heard him cry, not softly, like a child who doesn't know how to stop. My heart twisted, but I did not go to him. Morning came. He was still there. Days passed, then weeks. He did not apologize, not once. Instead, old habits returned. The food was too simple. The house was too small. The village was too backward. Each complaint reopened an old wound. I realized something painful. He had returned not as a son seeking forgiveness, but as a man expecting comfort. One afternoon, I fell sick. High fever. My body ached. I asked him gently, "Can you bring medicine from the shop?" He sighed, loudly. "Ma, you are always sick. Can you stop being so weak?" That sentence felt heavier than all the years of silence. That night I didn't cry. I prayed, not for his success, not for his happiness. I prayed for truth, and truth arrived the very next day. A man came to the house, from the city, well-dressed, serious. He asked for Ariv. They spoke outside. They didn't know I was listening. The man said quietly, "Your mother sold her gold bangles." I stopped breathing. "The ones your father gave her. She sold them to clear your last debt." There was silence. Then my son's voice cracked. "She didn't tell me." The man replied, "She didn't want you to feel small." My legs felt weak. I held the wall to steady myself. The bangles, the last thing I owned. That night, Ariv did not eat. He did not speak. He stood outside my room for a long time. I could feel him there, breathing, struggling. Finally, the door creaked open. He stood at the entrance. His head was lowered. His hands trembled. He did not step inside. He whispered my name. "Ma." For the first time in years, my son stood before me, without pride. He stood at the door, not inside, not outside, as if he didn't know where he belonged. "Ma." His voice broke on that single word. I sat up on my bed slowly. Old bones don't move quickly, but my heart moved too fast. He stepped inside and closed the door behind him. The room smelled the same as it always had. Old books, incense, memories. He didn't sit. He stood there, staring at the floor like a guilty child. Minutes passed. Then his knees gave way. He didn't lower himself carefully. He collapsed. His forehead touched the floor. Not my feet, the floor. Like a man who had finally lost the strength to pretend. "I didn't know," he said. His shoulders shook. "I swear I didn't know." I said nothing, because sometimes words interrupt regret. "I thought you had nothing else to do with your life," he continued. "I thought you lived only to wait for me." That sentence hurt, but what came next hurt more. "I didn't think losing your bangles would matter to you." I closed my eyes. Those bangles were not just gold. They were memory. They were proof that once someone chose me. My son began to cry. Not quietly, not proudly, like a dam breaking after years of pressure. "I failed, Ma," he said. "I failed at work. I failed at marriage. I failed as a son." His tears fell onto the floor. I watched them fall. Years ago, I would have rushed to lift him. That night, I didn't, because love that rushes too fast teaches nothing. He stayed there for a long time. Then he whispered, "Why didn't you tell me?" I answered softly, "Because you were already heavy with your own life." He looked up. His eyes were red and swollen. "I thought you would always be there," he said. "I thought you were strong." I smiled sadly. "Strength doesn't mean you don't bleed," I said. "It means you bleed quietly." He tried to touch my feet. I stopped him. "Get up," I said. He obeyed. He sat beside the bed, like he used to when he was sick as a child. "I want to fix things," he said. "I'll stay. I'll take care of you." I looked at him. I didn't answer, because promises are easy when guilt is fresh. Days followed. He changed. He cooked. He cleaned. He listened. But something inside me remained careful. Trust, once broken, doesn't return running. It walks slowly, if at all. One evening, he asked, "Ma, do you forgive me?" The question scared me, because forgiveness is not a switch. It is a journey. I said, "I don't know yet." He looked hurt, but he nodded. That night, he couldn't sleep. I heard him pacing. In the morning, he said something unexpected. "Ma, I'm scared." I asked, "Of what?" "Of leaving again," he said, "and of staying." Those words told me the truth. He was still torn between the world that broke him and the home he once broke. That evening, he packed a bag, not to leave forever, just to go to the city, to close things properly, he said. Fear tightened my chest. I nodded anyway, because love that chains is not love. At the door, he stopped. He looked at me with wet eyes. "If I don't come back," he said, "please no. I am sorry." I said nothing. I watched him walk away. Again. And I didn't know if this goodbye was temporary or final. Forgiveness had knocked on my heart, but I didn't know if I had the strength to open it. The house felt empty again. Not the loud emptiness of grief, but the quiet kind that sits beside you. When my son left that morning, I did not cry. I had already cried enough for a lifetime. Days passed. I kept the door unlocked, not because I expected him, because some habits are stitched into the heart. Neighbors asked nothing. They had learned silence from me. At night, I sat near the window listening to the wind. Each sound made my heart jump. Hope is dangerous at my age. Then one evening, footsteps, slow, careful, familiar. I did not rush. I stood up slowly. My knees trembled. The door opened. It was him. No bags this time. No hurry. Just him. He stood there and said nothing. Then he touched my feet, properly, fully. His forehead rested there longer than tradition requires. When he stood up, his eyes were wet. "I closed everything," he said. "I returned what I could. I apologized where I owed." He took a breath. "I chose you." Those words, They did not erase the past, but they softened it. Life did not become perfect after that. He struggled to find work. Some days he was frustrated, some days silent, but he stayed. He listened. He learned. One night he asked me, "Ma, why didn't you ever lock the door?" I smiled. "Because some doors are not made of wood," I said. "They are made of hope." He cried that night, not from guilt, from understanding. Time passed. I grew older. He grew quieter, more patient. Sometimes we sat together without speaking. That was enough. One morning, he brought tea and said softly, "I didn't realize how lonely you were." I replied, "Loneliness is easier when you expect it." Now, when I sleep, I am not afraid. If I leave this world tomorrow, I know my son knows where he belongs. So if you are listening to me, and you still have your mother, don't wait for failure to teach you love, because some doors stay open for a long time, but not forever. Children believe parents are permanent. Parents know they are borrowed.